Former San Francisco Public Works Director sentenced to 7 years in federal prison, Mohammed Nuru, not to be confused with Nibiru Planet X, if you recall that in 2012, Eric. Director of San Francisco Department of Public Works, until his arrest in 2020, sentenced for bribery and kickbacks dating back to 2008. So what's the story here, Eric? This is in your former neck of the woods.
Yeah, dude, this is just brutal. So, Mohammed Nuru, the head of the Department of Public Works, which of course is tasked with keeping the streets clean, sweeping the needles and the poop and the tents off the street, which you can see he's been charged with crimes dating all the way back to 2008. So for at least that long, the streets have basically been getting neglected. And that's why it just has deteriorated into absolutely nothing. So it took them more than a decade to take this guy down. And you can imagine that it's far worse than what they're leading on. Like, if these people let this story get out, if London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, who was apparently, quote unquote, dating him, had an affair. You can read some other local articles about their little relationship. So this guy goes down on, bribery and wire fraud or whatever he's doing. Meanwhile, London Breed, who is the mayor of the city, also paid, I believe, around $23,000 in fines for ethics violations dating back 6 or 8 years. And that is, this is case in point. This is actually directly linked to the state that San Francisco is in right now, just with the tents, the needles, the quite literally world famous poop patrol that goes around and cleans the human feces off the street. That was the guy that was supposed to be taking care of that stuff. He was pinched by the feds, who I'm sure still went soft on him, but they have to do something. There comes a point where you got to have sort of a sacrificial lamb. So he goes down. London Breed is sitting there after having dated this guy and taking gifts from him. So he's out there doing this thing. I feel like Charlie and It's Always Sunny. Like, there's so many lines to connect here, but the moral of the story is she notoriously took, I believe, nearly $6,000, which is a drop in the bucket, from Mohammed Nuru that she said was to repair her car. This is the highest paid mayor in the entire country, said that she needed help getting her car fixed, which is absolute nonsense. So if she's willing to admit that she took $5,600, she's willing to admit to other ethical violations and pay $23,000 for those violations, you have to imagine what's really going on behind the scenes. It just has to be terrible. But this is a direct link, to just nail it home here. This is a direct link between the disgusting state that the city is in and the guy who was responsible for it now doing 7 years for taking bribes.